Part 2,
Huh?
how Mingus Union High School got its name.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to give you a little insight about some of the things that happened with the school districts a little bit this morning. Prior to 1950. Of course, Jerome had its own school district, school setup. Clarkdale had its own. And Cottonwood was sending his students here to Clarkdale. And of course, Camp Verde has always been by their own down there. In 1948, Cottonwood broke away from Clarkdale and set up their own high school in an old Clemens Hall building. And they became known as Cottonwood High School, known as the mascot, the Red Devils, and their colors was scarlet and silver, as they say. Clarkdale was known as the Clarkdale Wolves, and their colors were maroon and white. And Jerome had their high school, and they were known as the Jerome Muckers, and the colors was black and orange. And so 1950 rolls in, and the ore body is now diminishing, and the writings on the wall that things are going to shut down. And because of that, there was a movement among the leadership in Talman, and Jerome and Clarkdale consolidated. And of course, by 52, the mines did shut down, the smelter did shut down, and people started moving away. During the process of this consolidation, I was just a little guy, but at that time, only down in the 5th and 6th grade. But I remember students talking about how they were having an election and were trying to name the new high school, which was Jerome Clarkdale combined. And they came up with Mingus. And they came up with the colors of green and gold, and the mascot as the Rams. And so that came to be, and I remember them going to school up in Clarkdale, was bused to Jerome, to the high school there. And I remember as a 5th and 6th grader, we got to move up here to the old high school. Big times for us. And then the next year, they shut down schools up there. Schools on what they call Clark Street, and high school complex in Jerome, and came down here, and we moved back down to the bottom of the hill. And then we, at first, it was pretty good. It was kind of neat. I still remember some of the talent. Of course, I'm always an athlete. And athletics, some of the talents that still stayed around. Bob Duvall was the first coach, basketball coach. Man, he had a team and a half. This is 1952, 53. That team was scoring in the 70s in those days. And that was unheard of because high school teams were only scoring like 20, 30 points a game. Yet Duvall's team was scoring up in the 70s and so forth, with the combined talent of Clarkdale and Jerome. And the football team under Don Snyder, who was Dr. Wada, little league coach, had a football team and a half. But anyway, things went pretty well. Everybody moved out. So, continue to operate in that manner. And the subject of consolidation came up again in 1958, 57, 58. I was a senior in high school at that time. And I went as a study in government and so forth. They sent us to these consolidation talks. I remember they always met over here in the auditorium. And I was a senior class president. And Billie Jean Coase was the student body president. Arthur Monsibius was the junior president. I forgot who the sophomore and freshman were. But anyway, it was something. It was people like Mr. Sexton from Cottonwood, Patterson, John Weiss from here. All of these guys, they were organized. I mean, they placed themselves, I still remember, placed themselves throughout the crowd so they could have the moderator, they would ask questions and have a panel up there. And the moderator was Mr. McDonald, I remember that. Mr. McDonald was a long-time educational leader out of Jerome, eventually going to Northern Arizona University. And anyway, consolidation came in, Cottonwood and what is known as Mingus High School, consolidated, unionized, not consolidation, just the high school, unionized. And anyway, the new school board that was elected had John Weiss, Patterson, Bayless Edens, and some of these other guys, the ringleaders, as a school board. And I remember some of the stationery coming out. They were going to name the school Verde Valley Union High School. And Mr. Ensign, Donald Ensign, was our superintendent for Mingus High School. And Fred Lewis was the superintendent for Cottonwood High School. Anyway, somehow word got out. And we discussed it in our student council. And I guess the same thing was going on over on the other side. I remember the student body president of Cottonwood was Hal Crawford. And his father was a teacher there, Merle Crawford. Anyway, we didn't like it, our student council. We said, our students. And so, through Fred Lewis and Don Ensign, they more or less got their student council to discuss the opportunity to go before the school board. That this was a dumb name. So it was all set up, and we went. And lo and behold, they were receptive. Mr. Weiss, who lived up the street right here on Main Street, was one of the instigators. He says, well, we'll listen to you. You come back with a plan. So the student council had meetings, and we threw all kinds of names around. I remember one of them was Yucca High School, and somebody said, Yucca High School, well, they'll call it, what a yucky school, and stuff like that. And anyway, it was a standstill because our students told us, we want the name Mingus. We don't want to be any other name. And Cottonwood, so we had these meetings. We had luncheons together. We had met in our lunchroom, and we went to Cottonwood lunchroom. And it was Hal Crawford, the president of the Cottonwood High School, came to us. He said, I'll tell you what, we've talked it over in our student council and with our students, and we think we have something here. We said, well, let's see what you got. And Hal said, what if we stay with the name Mingus? As long as the colors will be scarlet and gray, our colors. And we'll take your fight song, which was patterned after On Wisconsin, on Mingus. And you take our alma mater song, our high school alma mater. It's a deal. So we went to the school board and said, we've come up with a plan. This is the plan. And we told them. And lo and behold, they said, if that's what students want, then that's what we want for you. Mingus Union High School, colors scarlet and gray. The old Mingus High School fight song, the old Cottonwood alma mater. And then later, the students themselves picked the mascot Marauders. That was later on. It was so that's how things happen. And had the support of the new school board, and that's the way it came to be. It was, and Don Ensign and Fred Lewis, two supporters and kind of instigators. Mr. Ensign went on down to Sierra Vista to start a new high school at Fort Huachuca, and he died in a plane wreck, going to a meeting one day. Fred Lewis went on to set up a high school in White River, Arizona on the Fort Apache Reservation and served for years there at Alchese High School. And, but that's what happened. So today, Mingus Union High School, that's how they got the name, colors, and so forth.
Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate the story.